Well, first, thank you very much for having me. What I'm going to do today is pretty much share our experience, what we live, what we've been through with digital out of home for the past few years. I think it's more about how we create a campaign and how we put together our campaign, and more of a sort of general view of what we've done, and of course what's been done in London and elsewhere in the world. What it's not is definitely not do's and don'ts for the industry. That would be that'd be a bit too much. But it's really just a way of sharing our passion for digital out of home, because digital out of home as such is, as a media, is absolutely amazing. For a production agency like us, it's a great new venture. There's a few different things. Of course, it's new. That makes it quite exciting. But I think the main thing when it comes to digital out of home is pretty much anything is possible. When you think about any other platform, when you think about mobile, what happened to mobile a few years ago when it came into the picture, we have to wait. We have to wait for Apple. We have to wait for Google. We have to wait for this big player to bring the new technology. With digital out of home, we've got the choice to bring our own technology. We can bring them to media owner. We've got pretty much the chance to be able to discuss with them. And from what we've seen, they've always been really flexible and really willing to push it further, and really backing us up when it came to that, when it came to bringing new technology. I think it's a bit just trying to be a little bit provocative here. But I think we can still see that around London and anywhere else around the world. Digital out of home is a great platform. It should be used to its full potential. We can see a lot of campaigns that are just simply recycled media recycled from other media and just push into big screen without really thinking about target audience, without really thinking about what we can do with it. When I think about out of home, I really want to think about dynamic, precise, and reactive. When I mean dynamic, it's just like there's so much we can bring into a digital out of home creative. We can bring so much content from different platforms, from different social circles, from all this sort of thing can come together within the creative. When I think about precise, we've got the possibility of being really, really precise in terms of targeting the right person at the right time. And reactive, of course, is the only media that can really and properly react to its environment and react to its audience. So what I've tried to do is just break a digital out-of-home campaign into key points, how we usually approach it and how we see it, how we would just break it down into those few key points. The content, what, when, and where, the take on the creativity and how they play together, how they can help each other, and how they can somehow, sometime, not really be such a good partnership. Then the integration. By integration, I mean integrating with the rest of the media, because digital out of home is really rarely a campaign by itself. It comes with a lot around it, and it's part of a full package. And takeaway, which is really important part of it. Takeaway, what the user is going to take with them when they actually leave the site, when they've stopped, when they leave the experiential area. Okay, so the first section is the content. Let's start with when and where. When I think about the media plan, I think it should be part of the creative process as such. It's such an important part of it. I think time is important because the demographic can change. We can have a great location, but if the time is changing, then the creative can react to that. We're talking about technology and educating agencies, I mean, I think we all have to work together. It's more a way of like, we share technology and we see how we can make them work together on which one should be used for each campaign. Just want to talk quickly about all the software that are now available. I mean, we've developed our own platform. A lot of us have done the same thing. We now have software that can actually manage those creative. Managing by using triggers, so making sure they can update themselves, they can be reactive, and of course using output and inputs. So outputs from the rest of the media and inputs from the media itself. Just drilling down into it, so I just want to put it together with like triggers, inputs, and of course centralized software that is going to push all those creative and modify them according to those different elements. I mean, we're talking about a lot of different possibilities here. If we want to talk about user-generated content, we can have a live CMS, we can have 4G DSLR that we used in a few of our campaigns, 4G tablets. And when it comes to reacting to triggers and everything, we've got a lot of API we can dip into. Travel API, weather API, we can react according to social trends. NFC, I'll come back to NFC a little bit later. And of course, third-party application. Third-party application is really a way of like communicating, making sure that we are open to the next agency, to the next platform, and they can all work together to have a really seamless experience across all the medias. I'm just going to show the first example. This one is actually a campaign that we worked on. I've got more examples coming. It's not all of our production, but I think this one is a really good example. So that was on Cromwell Road, one of the busiest roads in London and even in Europe. What we had to do is target mini drivers to give them a personalized message to each and single one of them, pretty much a unique message. And that's where this kind of software, this kind of managing the content can come into place. Well, we have the possibility to do that, we have the technology to do it, we should use it more and more and more. I think that's really what digital out of home should be, just targeting someone, delivering like the right content. I mean, even like you would see like just at the end of this one where we're actually taking photos of the mini driver, and within a few minutes, they're basically just being sent back onto the screen. Interestingly as well, it's just like all the screens were actually synchronized, so the message would actually follow the driver throughout the road. I think when it comes to content and location, media plan, that's a really good example of what can be done in the digital out-of-home platform. Moving into our second point is tech and creativity. Tech is amazing. I mean, it's such an exciting thing. And I mean, I really like it just from my job, and it's always something I've been interested in. The only thing is like, I think sometimes because of the format again, and because of the design of the platform, and we can take any technology and push it into it, we have a tendency of like taking a take and creating something around it. Yeah, so this example is from Apotheke. It's for Apotheke from this agency. And it's such a good use of technology. I think that's where we can use technology in a really simple and powerful manner. It's really seamless. You can't see it. But it works so well. It's incredible. At the end of the presentation, I've put together like some sort of wish list. But when we're talking about technology earlier and what media owners can offer to us, creative agencies, us creating content, maybe that's the sort of thing we would need, this sort of trigger, because that works so well for this campaign. But that could work with like so many different ideas. Why don't we have a trigger for each screen that is sitting on the train platform? That would be such an easy way of creating really, really good digital out-of-home campaign that can react to their environment. Now I'm going to move into the third point, integration. I think integration is really important. But I think there's a bit of a segregation in a way where I was saying, okay, we have a digital out-of-home campaign, but next to this campaign, there's so much more happening. And how do we create a user journey that can go from the screen or from the mobile or from the web, where we can actually follow all those media and link them together in a really elegant manner, and that is completely seamless for the user, rather than just splitting them into sections and then thinking about how we can integrate them together. again, there's a lot of tools available. A lot of us have been working hard to do that, and I think we should be using them more and more and more. But sometimes it's not just about the tools, it's about how we put all the partners together and how we keep the communication going. By communication, I mean, of course, communication, but I think we can as well think about communication between developer platforms. How do we open our developer platforms to integrate with other media? And how we can pass this information from one media to the other and send it back. It could be from the DigitalDOOH platform, or it could be from another media back into the DigitalDOOH platform. I mean, this one is a good example that, in a way, we've done this campaign a few weeks ago. Really simple mechanic. We did that with KoffeeCup for Disney, where we would just create content. I mean, just roughly, the movie is all about Kermit having this counterpart that has a mole. It's the only way you can differentiate them. We had brand ambassadors in the experiential area taking photos of the member of the public, and really quickly our software can add the mole, push them onto the big screen, and then push them onto our server. It's exactly the sort of mechanic that would deserve much more to it. And that could be used to push into so many different media and so many different social circles. Now moving into the last point of this sort of digital out-of-home campaign breakdown is the takeaway. Takeaway is such an important part of the campaign, and it's a really difficult one as well. It's really difficult because I think a lot of us have been working really hard to find the sort of missing link and how we can do that. How do we keep communicating with the member of the public? How do we keep sending information? What do you take away from you? Of course, I think everyone can think about QR code and NFC. Okay, QR code has been around since 1997, and if you really think about the general public, I think a lot of them don't really know how to use it or don't even really know what it is. The mechanic is quite clumsy as well, thinking that you need a specific app that is going to scan the QR code, take you somewhere. NFC, when it comes to the mechanic, is great. I mean, just take your phone out, tap it, and then we can take you to your website, we can take you to a specific application, deep link into an application. It's absolutely amazing. The big problem is it's just not here yet. Those stats are actually really recent, but only 35% of mobile users knows about NFC. And only 1 in 10 knows about the device capabilities. Maybe most of us know about it, but when you sort of leave the industry, our own sort of inner circle, it's a really different story. Of course, we're all waiting for Apple. Maybe things are going to change in the next few months. But before that, I think we should just have different strategy, and we can't rely on that to push information into the user. What I'm thinking is just, I mean, the way I see it is just like if we actually generate good content, and if we generate something that the user wants to take home with them, then that could work much better. I just took this example. It's a campaign from Imagination. I think, first of all, the campaign is great. I really like it. Visually, it works very well. I mean, I'm sure when you were actually in the experiential area, it was really, really impressive, and not just for kids. And actually, technically, it's not that complex to put together. But when you think about it, all the different interactions were recorded and pushed onto YouTube. Now, if you have your own video on YouTube, all we're missing is sending it to you by email, which is really easy to do. A brand ambassador, a tablet, we just collect your email address and send it back to you. When you have such a content and you're so proud of it, you really want to share it. I mean, I'm sure, you know, it was all over the Facebook profile. And I think this kind of mechanic works so much better for that. Just a really sort of side note about how do we do that? And let's say we do have a great YouTube video like that. How do we send it to those users? I really like the email mechanic because I think it works well and there's no problem with data. You can share your email. There is no sensitive data being shared. I've seen a few campaigns actually using Facebook logins. Asking people to log in on Facebook or Twitter or any other social network on a public computer on a public kiosk or on a public tablet shouldn't really be good practice. I mean, the good thing with email, it's safe and there's no problem, and we don't ask too much from the user. So my last and final section is a bit of a wish list and a bit of sort of split between a wish list and how I would like the industry to evolve more from like a creative agency point of view. I mean, of course, I've been sort of going on and on about engaging personalization and reactivity. I really think this is what a campaign should be, and that's why we should push it more and more toward that. That's how we should build it, and that's what we should deliver. Now, when we think about that, it's just I'm thinking about how we can improve the technology that we have available on those great displays and how we can leverage that. There's a lot of features available that are not always really easy to implement. And the way I see it is more like all of us already have our own software, our own developer platform, and really that's what we want to use. Plus, usually a campaign will run across multiple media owners. So what we need to create, we need something that is portable, that can be pushed into pretty much any screen, and that would just be using what's available on the spot without having to roll out new hardware or without having to install a HD camera if we need to do face detection, if we need to do face recognition. I'm thinking about environment hooks as well. I was showing this example about the train platform, which I think is great. It's just like if we have screens on the train platform, why don't we have a call coming directly from motion sensors? It should be there, we can use it, and it would work for like so many different kind of creative. Gesture and touch API, it is coming. There's more and more screens that can actually enable this sort of interaction. But it's not there, and I think if we really want people to engage with it, if we want them to really interact with our creative, with this media, that's the sort of thing we really, really need. I've talked about camera access. I'm thinking about the last point I want to make is how creatives are evolving. Creatives are evolving. I think we passed the sort of age where we're playing videos. We're really, of course, into the interaction, but more than that, we've had a fair amount of breadth in the past 6 months to a year that are really close to video games in a way, and we are seeing those creative now being built close to the sort of video game you will find on your console. I'm thinking about the Unity platform, I'm thinking about this sort of technology. This is great, and I think there's a really, really good use for that on the digital out-of-home platform. But of course, we need the screen and the hardware to follow with that. So that's the sort of technology that we'd really like to push and have more available for us as agency to create more content. But thank you very much. Thank you.